as this section, this entire block is basically based on the concepts, okay, like sovereignty, state, what is power, then what is about citizenship, civil society, democracy, etc., etc. So this is very basic, and it's also very easy. This block is very easy from total in MSO 001 paper. Okay, so let's start with Unit 18. This is on sovereignty. Okay, so uh, sovereignty is an it's an important element of the state which distinguishes the state from other political associations within a society and similar entities in the international society. Okay, so when we talk about sovereignty, what happened to this system? Just so the concept of sovereignty here, first of all, let's know about what is the concept of sovereignty. So first is the concept of sovereignty. It has been controversial in academic discourse. Okay, so to a large measure, this is because of the contrasting ways in which it is used to refer to independence. um to refer to independence and to autonomy. Okay, so ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ independence କଥା କହୁଛେ, the first thing, independence it's a notion of authority and right. And when we are talking about autonomy କହିଲେ this is a notion of power and capability. Okay, so then this concept of sovereignty, when we talk about sovereignty, it's a constitutional arrangement of political life. Okay, so and the rise of sovereign states. Okay, what is it? So this is basically it's a fundamental development in political theory which shaped the modern international system. It's in page number uh, 10, page number 10. Okay, so this concept of sovereign state that refers to the emergence of independent, centralized political entities which exercise authority over a defined territory and population. Okay, so when we talk about its rise of this sovereign states. So basically, first of all, let's talk about the medieval Europe, the decline of feudalism. Okay, so what happened in medieval Europe? The political authority which was fragmented among kings, nobles, and the church. Okay, fragmented means uh, it's segmental, divided. Okay, it's among kings, nobles, and the church. So what happened? The feudal system, this system weakened due to the economic changes. Okay, economic changes, then technological advancements and internal conflicts. So then what happened? So there is the Treaty of Westphalia. It's mentioned somewhere else. uh, so what is it? This marked the end of the 30 years war in Europe. So basically, it established the principle of state sovereignty. That means each state had control over its own affairs without external interference. Okay, so this considered the foundation of the modern nation state system. Okay, so this sovereign states रे ଆଉ कौन हैला? There was centralization of power, जोटा कि the rulers established strong bureaucracies, then the armies and the legal systems. And what are the other things? Like the national economies grew, then reduced reliance on the feudal lords, etc., etc. Okay, so then, what are the economic changes? Um, uh, that thing, the national economy grew. The rise of capitalism and trade encouraged the formation of stable states to protect commerce. Then next is economic nationalism. So that is, or the mercantilism that promoted state control over trade and colonial expansion. Okay, so then when we talk about modern state, modern state or and about the nationalism during the 18th and 19th centuries, what happened, this centuries saw the rise of nationalist movements, okay, which led to the creation of states based on shared identity, language and culture. Okay, so then it is during 1700 something, I think around 1775 or 6, the American and the French revolutions, it emphasized the idea of sovereignty that belongs to the people. Okay, so then what happened? The decolonization and the spread of sovereignty that happened in the 20th century. The colonial empires it dissolved. Then that led to the creation of new sovereign states, where it's in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Okay, so this was about the rise of sovereign states. Okay, so the next is what is the concept of sovereignty? Okay, so here in this section, this is in page number 11. So in this section, we will be basically talking about the uh, uh, what's his name? Jean Bodin. Okay, Jean Bodin, who presented sovereignty as the untrammeled and undivided power to make laws. So this is in page number 11, right? When we talk about the concept of sovereignty, first of all, this is the concept is extensively discussed by different political philosophers like Jean Bodin, then Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Rousseau. Okay, so each of them they had different perspectives on the nature, then the source and the limits of sovereignty. So first of all, let's talk about Jean Bodin. Okay, Jean Bodin, who is basically talking about absolute sovereignty. Okay, Jean Bodin, this is in page number 11. You can check. So Jean Bodin, he's talking about absolute sovereignty. So he was one of the first theorists to formally define this concept of sovereignty in his book, Six Books of the Republic, which was published in 1576. In his book, the book's name is Six Books of the Republic, which was published in 1576. So basically, what was his argument? He argued that sovereignty, it should be absolute or perpetual and indivisible. Okay, this sovereign or the monarch that holds supreme power within a state, and it is not subject to the external control. So ତାହେଲେ ଏଠି ଭାବି ପାରିବେ ତାମାନେ ସେ କାହାକୁ ସପୋର୍ଟ କରୁଥିଲେ? He supported the monarchical sovereignty and believing that a strong ruler was necessary for the stability to maintain order in the society. Okay, so he was basically supporting monarchical sovereignty. Okay, so however, he recognized that the sovereignty it should be exercised in accordance with the divine and natural law. Okay, so this was about Jane Bodin's idea of sovereignty. Let's now talk about next thinker. He is Thomas Hobbes. Okay, it's in page number 12. So Thomas Hobbes, basically his famous work or book is Leviathan. Okay, Leviathan, which was published in 1651. Basically, he is talking about the sovereign power for order. Okay, so what is his argument? Basically, he says that in the state of nature, human life was solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short due to constant fear and conflict. It's written uh, uh, in his book Leviathan, which was published in 1651. Okay, so to escape this chaos, individuals they enter a social contract. Okay, social contract, surrendering their rights to a sovereign authority, which was monarch or assembly, the sovereign authority. So what happened? The sovereign, it must be absolute and undivided power to ensure peace and prevent the kind of anarchy. Okay, so unlike Bodin, Hobbes, he believed sovereignty could reside in a monarch, a group, or an assembly as long as it was absolute. Okay, so basically, his idea was he rejected the idea of rebellion against the sovereign as it would lead to disorder in the society. Okay, so then next is why I am doing very fast because today we need to complete these all 4 units and there are a lot of concepts. So we need to finish it up. So, okay. So next is Rousseau. Sorry, John Locke. Okay, John Locke. He is talking about in his book, The Two Treatises of Government, which was published in 1689, the Two Treatises of Government. What he did, he rejected that absolute monarchy and what he proposed is a limited government. Okay, say reject korichandi kota absolute monarchy and propose karle kota the limited government. Okay, limited and popular sovereignty. This was his John Locke's concept. So he argues that in the state of nature, people had natural rights. Okay, natural rights mane life, liberty, property, etc. Okay, so the social contract exists to protect these rights, these natural rights, and sovereignty ultimately resides with the people. Okay, so this was his argument. Um, and also he focused on that the government is a trustee of the people's rights. Okay, um, the sole conscience keeper, what we say, the sole conscience keeper. Okay, the government is a trustee of the people's rights and if it fails the people have the right to rebel and replace that particular government. Okay, so Hobbes here he supported a constitutional government with checks and balances. Okay, so then last but not the least, he is Rousseau, Jean Jacques Rousseau. It's in page number 12, same page. So Rousseau, he was talking about popular sovereignty and general will. So basically, in his book, The Social Contract, which was published in 1762, the book Social Contract, which was published in 1762, Rousseau, what he says that sovereignty belongs to the people as a whole. Okay, the sovereignty belongs to the people as a whole. So unlike John Locke, what he believes, Rousseau, what he believes that people should directly participate in law making process rather than delegating power to the representatives. Okay, I repeat, what unlike Locke, what he believes, Rousseau believes that people should directly participate in law making rather than delegating power to representatives. Okay, so then what he did, he introduced the concept of the general will, which represents the collective good of society. Okay, so the state should act according to the general will, even if it conflicts with the individual desires. So basically, Rousseau was critical of absolute monarchy, and what he favored is the direct democracy. Okay, direct democracy. So next, this was about these thinkers, their conceptions of regarding the sovereignty. Okay, so finally at the last um, of this section, so what we find is among these 4 thinkers, okay, the Bodin and Hobbes, they supported absolute sovereignty to ensure stability. Okay, and next, John Locke and Rousseau, they advocated for popular sovereignty. Okay, with Locke, who emphasized on individual rights, and Rousseau, he his idea was on like he focused on the collective will. So their ideas influenced modern democracy, constitutionalism, and debates on what's on the role of the state. Okay, so this was about the idea of these thinkers. Let's now talk about legal and political sovereignty. It's in page number 13, legal and political sovereignty. Okay, first let's talk about this concept of this is political. Suppose first is a political conception of sovereignty. So the concept of sovereignty, first, it is the supreme authority within a political entity. Okay, uh, it defines who has the ultimate power to make and enforce laws without external interference. So sovereignty has evolved over time, and it has been interpreted differently by different political theorists and states. So let's now talk about what are the basic features. This is we are talking from the political conception. Okay, how the political theorists, they have talked about the concept of sovereignty. So first is if you look at from the political conception, so first is feature is supremacy. Okay, supremacy means what? It means the sovereign authority, which is the highest and the final decision maker. Okay, then independence, what does it mean? No external power can dictate the sovereign's decisions. Okay, so then it's absoluteness. Like in classical theory, sovereignty is indivisible and it cannot be shared, and it is also permanent. Then there is exclusivity. It means a state has full control over its internal affairs. Okay, so then while talking about the internal and external sovereignty, internal means the authority of a state to rule within its territory. So basically this includes the lawmaking, taxation, and governance. Okay, and while talking about the external sovereignty, it means the independence of a state from external interference. Okay, and it recognized by international law and diplomacy. Okay, so then um, uh, we're talking of the uh, just a sec. So here we can also focus on what is the challenges to sovereignty in the 21st century. Okay, so what are the challenges? In short, this is human rights and international law, globalization or regional organization, cyber security, and transnational issues. Okay, so in the political conception of sovereignty, it has basically shifted from absolute authority to the uh, constitutional uh, power. Just a second. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. I thought some maybe network issue. Sorry. So the political conception of sovereignty, it has shifted from the absolute authority, which एक होता क्या होता है absolute authority, basically Bodin and Hobbes. So it has shifted from absolute authority to constitutional and popular sovereignty, जे कि क्या होता है ना Locke and Rousseau. Okay, so today sovereignty is still vital, but it is increasingly influenced by our international law, human rights, and globalization. Okay, so while talking about the legal conception of sovereignty, so what does it mean, legal conception? Okay, so it means we're talking about the supreme legal authority. Okay, the supreme legal authority within a state, which will focus on who has the power to create, enforce, and interpret laws. Okay, so it is a formal law-based understanding of sovereignty uh, that emphasizes the rule of law, legal institutions, and constitutional frameworks. So, while talking about the legal conception of sovereignty, there we talk about first, it was already I spoke, that is supremacy of law, means ultimate authority lies in the legal system. Okay, then it has definitive authority, that means legal sovereignty, which will determine who has the final say in the lawmaking process. And then indivisibility, uh, that means what say that means indivisibility means sovereignty which cannot be divided. Okay, divided between what, between different entities. Okay, then is next is non-interference, that means a legal sovereign state is not subject to external legal control. Okay, so this was the thing. Then next is just a second, what I did. So what are the challenges last here? What are the challenges to legal sovereignty? First is international law. That means the treaties, human rights conventions, organizations like UN that limit absolute sovereignty. Then second is judicial review. That means courts can limit the government actions. For example, US Supreme Court striking down the unconstitutional laws. Okay, and next is federalism, globalization, etc. So, at the very last, the legal conception of sovereignty, basically, it emphasizes the authority to create and enforce laws. Okay, so while the classical theorists like Bodin Hobbes, they have supported us, absolute legal sovereignty. Modern theorists, they recognize constitutional limits, judicial review, and international influences. Okay, so these were the things. Then, uh, so we will be talking about. Oh, I left the characteristics. Sorry, somewhere I have. Okay, okay. It's in page number 14. Okay, by mistake I left the characteristics of sovereignty. So these are absoluteness, autonomy, permanence, universality, inalienability, indivisible. So, in short, uh, permanence, as you know, it's a permanent and indestructible element of the state, and it is absolute. That means there is no power higher than the sovereign, and the sovereignty is absolute, which means all the people in the place within the state's territory, they are under the unconditional and unlimited control of a state. Okay, so there is exclusiveness, inalienability. That means um, an independent state that cannot separate itself from sovereignty, because sovereignty provides the state with supreme control. Okay, so next is indivisibility. That means it implies that sovereignty cannot be divided among the different groups or the entities. Okay, uh, then I think all it's over. Uh, can you please check if I have left with any of the concept? Okay. Then next is locating sovereignty. Okay, it's in page number 16. Internal, I have already spoke. 16, page number 16. Okay, so this is locating sovereignty. What does it mean? It means this locating sovereignty basically involves the understanding where supreme authority rests within a political entity, whether it's in a single person, like a, for example, monarch. So a group of people like the parliament or the people as a whole, that means popular sovereignty. So While talking about the locating sovereignty, we are basically talking about the different perspectives, like, for example, monarchy. So, what happens in a monarchy? Sovereignty is often it is seen as residing in the monarch, or which who holds the supreme authority. Okay, and when we talk about the parliamentary system, basically the sovereignty is seen as which is the elected body that makes the laws. Okay, and when we talk about popular sovereignty, that means a concept which is central to democratic theory, and mm, and it asserts that the ultimate power rests with the people who exercise their sovereignty through their elected representatives. Okay, so then okay, this unit is over. Okay, so in the conclusion, what is that? Sovereignty is a contentious concept in domestic and international relations. So the concept developed as an instrument for the assertion of royal authority, etc. So there are a lot of things also that you need to study. Okay, so please don't leave any of the concepts. You have to read it thoroughly, because it's not possible like within 2 hours to complete each and every pages and the paragraphs. Somewhere I have also left some paragraphs, so please you have to read. Okay, now come to this is unit 9 19, sorry, unit 19. This is state power as elaborated by Marx, Weber, Parsons, and others. How the concept of state and the concept of power has been elaborated by the different thinkers. Okay, so first of all, we'll be talking about. So basically, here in this unit, we will be focusing on Karl Marx, Weber, and uh, Durkheim, then Parsons, etc. Okay. So first of all, what is the concept of state? So first, the state is a fundamental political institution that exercises authority um, over whom? Over the population, over the definite territory. Okay, so it has sovereignty. That means it has the ultimate power to make law, to enforce law within its jurisdiction. Okay. Mm. So when we talk about the definition, one of the definition of the state, there I'll be taking Weber's definition. Okay, so Max Weber, he says uh, the state is a human community that successfully claims the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force within a given territory. Sorry, the state, he says, the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force. Okay, where in a given territory. And please do remember, you have to mug up at least two definitions of from each of the concepts. Okay, like state or citizenship, something like that. At least two definitions needed for your answer writing. Okay, so then Aristotle, if you talk about Aristotle, what he says, that state is a political community that exists for the well-being of the citizens. Okay, so in the concept of state, we will be focusing on some of the elements. These are what are the characteristics, elements or features or characteristics. These are the same concepts. They have the same meaning, but different concepts. Okay, so first is population. It's one of the element of the state. Population, territory, then government, then sovereignty. Okay, so like for example. United States, okay? It is a state because it has a population, it has a definite territory, it has a government, and it has sovereignty, okay? So then when we talk about the concept of state, so mm, the theory and origin of state, they're basically so there are a lot of theories. I don't think it's needed here. Uh, we will be specifically, we just go through. This is divine right theory. Uh, then social contract theory, it's by Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau. Then evolutionary theory, force theory, etc., etc. So then. So regarding the state, it has also some functions that it maintains order, then it provides public services, defends sovereignty, regulates the economy, then ensures justice. Okay, so these are the things. This is related to the state. Okay, let's now talk about how the thinkers they have contributed towards this particular concept of state. First is Karl Marx. This is in page number 21. Okay, Karl Marx, what he says, the state, it's a tool of operation. Okay, the state is a tool of operation which serve the interests of the ruling class. So, if you remember, I already told class in the sociological writings or the sociological contribution where Karl Marx is the one who has given the concept of class and class struggle, where he is talking about the two types of class, the bourgeois and the proletariat. So basically, he's talking about the operation state as a tool of operation that serve the interests of the ruling class. State kaharo isarare chaluchi only the ruling class. So his theory of the state is rooted in his historical materialism. In short, Kohidouchi, historical materialism is basically here. Karl Marx is talking about the history and materialism. And history means the society, and materialism means here he is talking about the mode of production. Okay, please এটা মানে মনরে এটা বসাই দিও historical materialism means basically he is talking about the types of society and materialism means the modes of production. Say history रे को type रो केतेबेले को type रो society थिला and से society रे को type रो mode of production थिला and mode of production जोठी अछि सेठी कोन होची class and class struggle होची का भितरे every society रे दुई दुईटा class दुईटा category रो class आछंती तो तांको भितरे जो struggle होची that is basically class and class struggle. Okay, so his theory of state, Karl Marx theory of state is rooted in historical materialism. Okay, which argues that economic structures shape political institutions. Okay, so according to Karl Marx, the state is not a neutral institution but an instrument of class domination. Okay, so se kon कहउचंती कि state होची as an instrument of class rule. Okay, it is the bourgeois, okay, or the capitalist class, है ना, the state कौन करूची ना state exists to protect the interest of the bourgeois. Only the capitalist class मानकर interest को state ही protect करूची and it the laws, then the government institutions and the political power are designed to maintain the class inequality. So he talks about the capitalist society where the state enforces property rights, it suppresses the workers and it defends the capitalist interest because it is only taking care of the capitalist class or the interest of the bourgeois. Okay, say for example, uh, the governments protect private property and support business, often at the expense of the workers' rights. Okay, for example, anti-union laws. Okay, so Karl Marx here, I think it's in page number 22. Okay, so se ଯେତେବେଳେ state କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି while talking about the origin of the state, basically ତାଙ୍କର idea ହେଉଛି to focus on historical materialism. Okay, ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି state ର emergence ହେଇଛି from the class struggle. Okay, class struggle in history. So first historical materialism କଥା ଯେତେବେଳେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି, first he is talking about the primitive communism. Okay, primitive communism कौन सेठी ना state अच्छी there is no state, communal ownership of the resources. Let's say for example, suppose गोटे village रे गोटे कौन नदी अच्छी ओके सो से नदीटा बिलोंग्स टू द एंटायर विलेजेस ओके सेटा स्पेसिफिक तो कहार नुहे ना कि नदी अच्छी कि रास्ता अच्छी सेटा समस्तंकर ओके नो वन इज द ओनर ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर प्रॉपर्टी ओके सो नो स्टेट एंड कम्युनल ओनरशिप ऑफ द रिसोर्सेस so primitive communism पर कौनटा अच्छी ना slave society रे what happens the state appeared to enforce class divisions okay ଏଠି କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଡିଭିଜନ୍ କରୁଛି କାହା ଭିତରେ ନା ମାଷ୍ଟର୍ସ ଭର୍ସେସ୍ ସ୍ଲେଭ୍ସ ଓକେ ଦେନ୍ ଆସୁଛି କ'ଣ ନା ଫ୍ୟୁଡାଲିଜମରେ ଦ ଫ୍ୟୁଡାଲ ଲର୍ଡସ୍ ଏଗେନଷ୍ଟ କିଏ ଅଛନ୍ତି ଦ ପେଜେଣ୍ଟସ୍ ଓକେ ଫ୍ୟୁଡାଲିଜମ ପରେ କୋଉଟା ଆସୁଛି ନା କ୍ୟାପିଟାଲିଜମରେ ସେଇ ବୁର୍ଜୁଆସ୍ ମାନେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ ପ୍ରୋଟେକ୍ଟ କରୁଛି ଦ ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ଅଫ୍ ଦ ବୁର୍ଜୁଆସ୍ ଓକେ and it suppresses the proletariat or the working class or the labor class. So the idea here is the state is a product of economic system and class struggle. Okay, and somewhere he is talking about Karl Marx. Just a sec. Somewhere he talks about withering away of the state. Okay, this is in page number 24. This is second last paragraph. Marx states that तारा last line टा देखो कि withering away of the state. Okay, so here Karl Marx he believed that the state would disappear or wither away after a socialist revolution. If you remember, काली मु कहितली गोटे alienation कहला बेले कि ଯେତେବେଳେ ପ୍ରୋଲେଟେରିଏଟ୍ ମାନେ ସେମାନେ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ଫର୍ ଇଟସେଲ୍ଫ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ କନସିୟସନେସଟା ଆସୁଛି ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ କି class consciousness asuchi ki ame class for itself heba we are now in class in itself okay to be class to be included in class for itself tal tang kon se man bhabuchanti they have the consciousness so they are planning कि आमे समस्ते गोटे एकाठी हे we will throw away the capitalist from the state okay capitalist मानंकु आम स्टेट रु हटई दबा ओके कैपिटलिस्ट मानंकु हटई देले सेतेबेले कोन गोटे सोशलिस्ट रेवोल्यूशन एटा पॉसिबल केतेबेले हबो रेवोल्यूशन आनिले ही हबो तो मार्क्स कहउचंती कि द स्टेट वुड डिसअपियर और wither away after a socialist revolution okay so in a communist society class divisions would be abolished making the state unnecessary ओके सेठो सेमाने जदि कैपिटलिस्ट सब पळेबे तांको जदि टोटली थ्रो आउट कर दबा देन कोन हबो द डिक्टेटरशिप ऑफ द प्रोलेटारिएट sorry the dictatorship of the proletariat that would temporarily replace the capitalist state to eliminate class exploitation okay so say for example the Soviet Union, it attempted to implement a proletarian state but did not achieve a stateless communist society. So, जेतेबेला हम कहूची कि one day stateless society हबो, do you think it is possible? Stateless society हबो जोथिरे कि it is headless or stateless society. तो सब जिनिसो it will be owned by everyone. सेठी केही गोटे ओनर नथिबे, से टाइप रे हबो कि? So ସେଥିପାଇଁ କୁହାଯାଉଛି କି Marxian thinking is the kind of utopian thinking. Okay, so these are about Karl Marx views on the state. Then let's now talk about who's the next? Then comes Max Weber. Okay, so Weber, he is talking. He is a German sociologist and a political economist. So, unlike Marx, he saw the state as an instrument of class oppression. Okay, what he believed, the state, primarily in terms of its monopoly on legitimate violence. Okay, its monopoly on legitimate violence and its role in organizing political authority. So, when you talk about the state, he talks about the monopolies. Do remember monopoly on legitimate violence or the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force within a given territory. Please, এটা রটি দেব মানে ঘষি দেব হ্যাঁ এটা হচ্ছে a definition of Weber on state. So what does it mean, the monopoly of legitimate use of physical force? It means basically the state is the only entity which is allowed to use or authorize force. For example, the police force or the military. Okay, so if others use force, like for example the criminals, okay, if others use force, it is considered as illegitimate unless it is sanctioned by the state. Okay, so the state exists within a definite geographical area. So then I'm not going in detail. Weber say the power of the state kotha कहउछन्ती, basically he is focusing on the three types of authority जोटे काली already मो बहुत थरो कहि सारछि. Traditional authority जो किंग एम्परर एगुड़ा सब हेले, then charismatic authority, for example Napoleon Bonaparte or Hitler, Gandhi, then uh, the last is rational legal authority, जोटा कि it prevail in modern state. Okay, so then he also talks about the role of bureaucracy in the state. So what is the bureaucracy? It has the hierarchy. Hierarchy means the gradation or the clear chain of command. Okay, then it has formal rules like laws and procedures. Then the bureaucracy, it has impersonality. It means the officials act based on duty, not the personal preference. Okay, so, who else are following these bureaucratic principles? Like the government ministries, courts, and law enforcement agencies, they follow these bureaucratic principles. So, let's now talk about what is the difference between Karl Marx and Weber on the state. Okay, so Weber କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି it's a political institution with monopoly or on legitimate violence. Okay, while Karl Marx ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି it is state is an instrument of class oppression. Okay, and then Weber କହୁଛନ୍ତି कि state is necessary for the order and stability, and Karl Marx କଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି कि um, it will wither away after the proletariat revolution. Proletarian revolution ପରେ state ଟା totally ପଳେଇବ. Okay, so these were the difference. So what is the why Weber is relevant here? Because he talks about the states, like why states maintain control through police and military, and uh, his theory why it is relevant, because he shows how leaders gain legitimacy. Okay, through elections or charisma or tradition. These are the type of authority. Then it was the idea of Weber on the state. Okay, so let's now talk about this is in page number uh, 28. It's in Durkheim. Okay, so Durkheim second କହୁଛନ୍ତି state ଉପରେ. Durkheim is first. He is a French sociologist, and ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି कि state is a moral and social institution. Okay, state is a moral and social institution which reflects the collective will of society. Okay, so unlike Karl Marx, he saw the state as an instrument of class oppression, and Weber ଏହାକୁ କେମିତି କହୁଥିଲେ କି Weber କହୁଥିଲେ କି through its monopoly on violence. So Durkheim basically emphasizing on the state's role in maintaining social cohesion. So integration कथा कहउछन्ती कि society रे integration केमती आसीबो. Okay, state's role in maintaining social cohesion, social order, and regulating the modern societies. Okay, so first Durkheim's he saw state as an expression of the collective consciousness. Please do remember the concept collective consciousness. It is given by Emile Durkheim. Okay, he says state as an expression of the collective consciousness. Okay, he is talking about collective consciousness means he is talking about the shared values, norms, and values of the society. पिले गोटे घंटा ହେଇଗଲାଣି କି? Because We're in unit 2 only. Okay, it's 7. Okay, okay. So also, Durkheim, he says the state doesn't serve just one class. जोटा कि कार्ल मार्क्स कौन कहते कि स्टेट होची कहार इंटरेस्ट रक्षा करूची कि बुर्जुअस मानकर और द कैपिटलिस्ट मानकर है ना Durkheim कहते कि state doesn't serve just one class but it represents the moral authority of the community, entire community को अखि आगे रखी state decision नहीं. This is according to Durkheim. So the state must ensure social solidarity. ତା ଅର୍ଥ social solidarity କ'ଣ? The integration, the bonds that connect people in society. So let's say, for example, mm, laws on education and labor rights. These are meant to promote social unity, not just going to benefit the ruling class. Okay. This was his first concept. Then Durkheim is talking about, he's basically identifying the two types of solidarity when he's talking about state ki maintain କରୁଛି social cohesion. ଯେତେବେଳେ social cohesion କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି, he's talking about the two types of solidarity. One is mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Mechanical solidarity is being characterized by the traditional societies. Okay, and traditional societies mean what are the characteristics of traditional societies? It's in simple or pre-industrialized society. Okay, so in mechanical society, the social cohesion is based on shared beliefs, traditions, and customs. The state has a minimal role as individuals naturally conform to group norms. Okay, just remember village re jaha sabu ghate. Okay, traditional rural society. So, for example, small tribal communities where customs regulate behavior without much social or much state intervention. Okay, so this was the first one. Mechanical solidarity. The second is the organic solidarity. Organic solidarity means it is being characterized in modern societies, modern advanced industrial societies. So also it is there is complex division of labor because we're talking about modern society. So here social cohesion comes from interdependence rather than similarity. Say traditional society रे कौन थिला there is similarity but here there is differences in modern society. Okay, so the state must regulate economic relations, education and justice to maintain stability. So say for example modern society रे state कौन provide करूची public education, labor laws, then legal systems to integrate diverse populations. Okay, and the third concept of Durkheim, that is the role of law and the state. When we talk about the role of state, he says law is a reflection of social values. Okay, so the state enforces laws to ensure justice and stability. It is the laws which shift from repressive to restitutive. Repressive means punishing crimes harshly in traditional societies, and restitutive means resolving disputes in modern society. So let's say for example से कथा कहउचंती कि mechanical society रे repressive law काम करे and modern society रे restitutive law काम करे. Modern society is being characterized by restitutive law. So I'll give you one example. रिप्रेसिव माने पनिश हार्श पनिशमेंट जो सब क्राइम कले हार्श पनिशमेंट मिले जोटा कि ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी रे दिसतिला एंड मॉडर्न सोसाइटी रे दिस काइंड ऑफ रिजॉल्विंग डिस्प्यूट. अच्छा केते जण समवेयर तुम माने दि चारटा गाड़ी तो बाड़ै थिबो लाइफ रे ना ड्राइव कला बेले है ना जेतेबेले आमे स्कूटी नै गोटे आगो गाड़ी रे एक्सीडेंट करूचे. ओके, देन एट ए टाइम क्या हो कोन होची एट ए टाइम आमे बाहर की कोन सेठी मामलाटा केमती सॉल्व होची थ्रू कंपेंसेशन आमे कहूची कि नाइ मो गाड़ी खराब हिची माने एति कि दे है ना. तो सेटा होची रिजॉल्विंग डिस्प्यूट जोटा कि मॉडर्न सोसाइटीज रे हुए ना कि सी मो गाड़ी बाडे दिला बोले मो जाई ता गाड़ी रे आउरी जबरदस्ती जाई कि चढ़ी जीबी सेमती हबो कि सेमती तो हबनी. सो दिस इज रिजॉल्विंग डिस्प्यूट्स थ्रू लाइक कंपेंसेशन. So Weber, sorry, Durkheim, he's talking about the restitutive law, which is being characterized by modern advanced industrial type of societies. Okay. So, and lastly, when he talk about, we are running short of time. So Okay. So this is the state bureaucracy and democracy. Okay. Um, ଯେତେବେଳେ ସେ ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି state should function nationally and democratically. So a strong bureaucracy that will help enforce laws fairly and efficiently. Okay. So and uh, so how Durkheim is relevant? Because he says the role of the welfare state, okay, the role of the welfare state to maintain social harmony. Okay, so this was the idea of Durkheim on the state. Okay, so next is it's the concept. Just a sec. It's in power. Okay, the concept of power. Oh my God. Okay, so the concept of power, it's in page number 29. So power is a universal phenomenon in human activities and social relationships. There is no uniform conceptualization of this concept. Okay, no universal conceptualization. So that means how the different thinkers they have contributed on the concept of power. Let's first talk about Karl Marx. What is his views on power? So Karl Marx ସେ ଯେତେବେଳେ power କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି basically he is focusing on the historical materialism and the class struggle. Okay, so he says power is primarily about what the control over the means of production. Okay, so basically the argument is that the capitalist class or the bourgeois um, they hold power over the working class or the proletariat because they control the economic resources and the production process. So power in this sense is not simply about individual authority, okay, but it is structural. It is built into the economic system of capitalism. So the ruling class has the ability to shape the laws, the social norms and institutions in a way that perpetuate their dominance while the working class remains subordinated. So here Marx also he says dominant subordination. The power is maintained through ideological mechanism like religion, media, education, which help legitimize the capitalist system and make the working class accept their exploitation. Okay, so ultimately this leads to the idea of false consciousness, okay, where proletariat are they are unaware of their true interests. Actually semane kon pai banchishanti kon karuchanti, they are not aware about this thing. So this is false consciousness, what a false consciousness bhitare rahichanti. Okay, and it is unable to recognize their own operation ମାନେ ତାଙ୍କୁ କେମିତି ଟର୍ଚର କରାହଉଛି ସେ ଜାଣି ପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି। ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଯେବେ ତାଙ୍କର ସେଇ କ୍ଲାସ କନସିୟସନେସଟା ଓରିଜିନାଲ କନସିୟସନେସକୁ ଫଲ୍ସ କନସିୟସନେସରେ ବଞ୍ଚିଛନ୍ତି ନା, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଓରିଜିନାଲ କନସିୟସନେସଟା ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ଆସିଯିବ ସେତେବେଳେ they will try to bring the social revolution. Okay, so this is his ultimately Marx believed that power dynamics of capitalism would be overthrown by a revolution in which the working class would rise up and establish a classless society, and they will abolish the power which is held by the capitalists. Okay, so this was the view of Karl Marx on power. Then let's now talk about Weber. Okay, so Weber kon କହୁଛନ୍ତି Weber he says power hochi ଗୋଟେ broader concept. Okay, so power is the ability to influence or control the actions of others. um, control କରିବ even against their will. So according to him, Weber, power is a relational and individualistic concept, which is more focused on authority and legitimacy than purely economic control. Economic control katha only Karl Marx कहउचंती, but ये कहउचंती कि authority and legitimacy also. Okay, so authority katha jitla कहउचंती, he is talking about the three types of authority. I don't need to trail again. Then for Weber, power is not just about control over economic resources, but also about the ability to exercise authority within various social structures. Okay, and what are these structures? These are political, legal, and bureaucratic systems. So his idea of power also acknowledged the uh, complexities and the nuances of authority and legitimacy, something Marx did not emphasize as much. Okay, so this was Weber's idea on power. Let's now talk about it's in page number 33. Please check page number 33. Parsons, Talcott Parsons on power. So Parsons se होचंती गोटे American sociologist basically अच्छा तांकर theory कौन थिला systems theory okay social system so he belong to the functionalist school of thought uh, so he is giving a functionalist approach to power okay mm. Just a second more आज कौन तंटी सुखी जाउछ sorry very sorry uh, Okay, so Parsons is basically giving a functionalist approach to power. According to him, power is a central component in the maintenance of social order and stability. Okay, power is the central component in the maintenance of social order and stability. Okay, so if you remember, I already told you that he's talking about the social system, है ना? The system, okay, where he is talking about the model, AGIL model, जोठी कि how different institutions play their role in maintaining social order. Okay, society ର smoothful function ପାଇଁ କେମିତି different institutions ମାନେ ତାଙ୍କ କାମ କରୁଛନ୍ତି. So that society ରେ ଗୋଟେ order या stability maintain ହେଇକି ରହିବ. Okay, so say maintain order and stability को maintain करने को the major concept is power. This is according to Parsons. Okay, and say कहते कि power is not an individual or class based resources but a system which serves the greater greater or it's for the goodness of the society. Okay, so power exists within a system of norms, values, and institutions which guide behavior and ensure social integration. So ସେ ଆଉ କ'ଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି power is linked to the ability of certain social institution ଯୋଉଠିକି social institution AGIL model ଯଦି ମନେ ଥିବ so there is the role of family, economy, and the state to enforce societal norms and maintain social equilibrium. Okay, so so in this context, power is not something that only the elite they hold. Instead, it is distributed throughout the society, and it is necessary for social cohesion. So okay, so this was Parsons' idea of power, and okay, so these three thinkers here, if we summarize, Karl Marx से कहते कौन कि power is class based and it is rooted in control over the means of production, and Weber कहते कौन power is the ability to influence others with a focus on authority and legitimacy. Okay, and lastly Parsons कहते कौन कि power होची essential element of social order that exists within the institutions. Institution कौन is a family, religion, education, etc., etc. So it is existing within the institutions and it is necessary for maintaining stability and order in the society, or he's talking about the what social cohesion. Okay, so this was then uh, what left in this unit. So here it is, the other theoretical models. Okay, please come to page number 34. Okay, other theoretical models on state and power. We already spoke about the thinker's viewpoint on state and power. What are the other theoretical models? So there are a lot of theories. So first is uh, okay. In brief, I'll tell you. If you focus on first is okay, so let's talk about Robert Dahl. It's mentioned somewhere else. Robert Dahl. ROBERT, Robert Dahl. Yes, yes, yes. It's in page number 35. Um, this first paragraph. Okay, so Robert Dahl and David Truman. Okay, so they are basically they belong to the pluralist theory, where main idea is according to the pluralism, power is widely distributed across society with various interest groups competing to influence government decisions. So, according to this theory, the state is not an instrument of a single ruling class or a group, but it is a neutral arena where multiple groups such as labor unions, business associations, or ethnic organizations have the opportunity to exert influence. So, here, what is the power dynamics? Um, this power is fragmented and decentralized with no single group dominating the political process. Okay, so this is the Dahl and Truman's concept of pluralist theory. Then now let's talk about actually a book रे ए मटेरियल पूरा मिक्स ହେଇକି ଅଛି है ना तो ମୁଁ ତାକୁ ଟିକେ ଟିକେ categorize କରିକି ଦଉଛି when we talk about Pareto, Gaetano Mosca, and C. Wright Mills in their uh, um, elite theory, this is in page number 35, okay, the second last paragraph. Elite theory, it's basically talking about the power which is concentrated in the hands of a small elite group. Elite theory ତା ଅର୍ଥ ଗୋଟେ small elite group ଙ୍କ ହାତରେ ପାୱାରଟା ଥିବ ଯିଏକି କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ କରିବେ the major institutions of society. What are the institutions? Politics, business, military, media, etc. So, according to this view, the state is not a neutral body that represents the will of the people, but it is an instrument used by the elite to maintain their dominance. Elite माने state को as an instrument भलिया use करंती. Okay, for what? To maintain their dominance. तांकर dominance जोटा जाहिर करंती से माने state को as an instrument भाबरे use करे तांकर जो dominance टा prevail करंती. Okay, so this is any theory. Then comes uh, another theory. Mm, uh, in short, I'm telling this is the feminist theory, mainly where the idea is which examines how gender inequality is embedded within social, political, and economic structures. So, mainly power is seen as being gendered, with patriarchy often being the primary structure through which power is distributed and maintained. So, these feminists they argue that power operates at the interpersonal level. Interpersonal means we're talking about the relationships or family dynamics. Okay, so and when we talk about the institutional level means we are talking about the workforce or the state or the law. So the state and its institutions often reinforce gender power relations and marginalizing women and done, etc. So feminist theorists they explore how the state's laws and policies maintain patriarchal structures. Okay, and lastly, when we talk about Durkheim and Parsons, we're focusing on structural functionalism. It views society as a system of interrelated parts, each with a role in maintaining. अच्छा see structural functionalism. We are talking about the structure. Structure को केमिति maintain करा जिवो. And functionalism. I already told you that functionalism they are talking about the functions of the society. So society रे smoothful functioning ପାଇଁ जो माने काम करते they have the structural functionalism. Okay, so they view society as a system of interrelated parts. से structure रो different parts अच्छी है ना the Society is a system of interrelated parts, each with a role in maintaining stability and order. Each of different parts are they are working for the whole. Suppose, for example, in our body we have heart, brain, eyes, nose, etc. etc. तो समस्ते at a time निज निजर काम करुଛନ୍ତି है ना to maintain the body in order, to maintain stability and order in the entire body. आको body केतेबेले कहछ जदि सब parts गुरा smoothly function करुଛନ୍ତି सेतेबेले कह जाउछ कि it's in order. So society जेतेबेले कह society is in order ता माने तार society रो जो institution गुडा से भलो से तांकर role play करुଛନ୍ତି. So power is not concentrated in the hands of any one group, but it is distributed across various institutions that function together to preserve social equilibrium. Okay, so this was structural functionalism, and the next is just a sec. If Fanon is there, uh, then post-colonial theory, it examines the enduring effects of colonialism on power structure. Basically, Seman kon कहउछनी कि state is viewed as an instrument of neo-colonial control. जोठी कि former colonial powers and elites continue to exert influence through economic, political, and cultural means. So, power relations are also shaped by race, ethnicity, and the lingering effects of the colonial exploitation. And last is the social contract theory. Basically, here we will be talking about Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. So basically, this theory explores how the origins of political power and the legitimacy of the state. Please excuse me. According to the social contract theories, individuals they consent either explicitly or implicitly to form a society and be governed by laws in exchange for protection of their rights and the common good. So the power of the state is legitimate as long as it reflects the consent of the governed. Okay, so power, it is power को देखा जाए, it is seen as a mutual agreement between whom? Individual and the state. Why? Because to establish law and order. Okay, and then Frankfurt School theory, the critical theory, where we'll be talking about Adorno, Herbert Marcuse, then Max Horkheimer. So the idea here is they say that power is not just about economic domination but also about ideological control. So the culture industry, mass media, and education they are seen as key mechanism through which dominant groups maintain power. Okay, so these were about the other schools of thought, how they have talked about state and power. Okay, so let's now talk about the next unit. This is unit 20. It's citizenship. It's very easy, this unit. ହେଲେ ତମମାନଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ଲିଜ୍ ଭଲରେ ଏଇଟା ପଢ଼ିବାକୁ ପଡ଼ିବ। ଏ କନସେପ୍ଟ ଗୁଡ଼ା ତୁମେ ନିଜେ ନ ପଢ଼ିଲେ କେବେ ହେବନି ହେଲା, ବହୁତ ଇଜି ଅଛି। ଆଣ୍ଡ ଦୋଜ୍ ହୁ ଆର୍ ପ୍ରିପେୟାରିଂ ୟୁପିଏସସି, ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଦ ବେଷ୍ଟ ଥିଙ୍ଗ। ଏଇଟା ଇଗ୍ନୋ ମେଟେରିଆଲ ପଢ଼ିଲେ ଅଟୋମେଟିକାଲି ତୁମର ପଲିଟି ପୋର୍ସନ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ୱିଲ୍ ବି ଓଭର। ଓକେ, so citizenship. Okay. Citizenship is one of the most commonly used terms in a democracy. So let's now first talk about what is the historical perspective, then we'll talk about the definition and all. ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ historical perspective କଥା କହୁଛେ, so there are three major issues that have dominated the world in modern times. First is the place of the church and various religions within the nation state. I'll talk about it in detail. Then the second is the admission of the lower strata, particularly the workers, to full potential, full political and economic citizenship. through universal suffrage and the right to bargain collectively. And the third is the struggle for equitable distribution of the national income among the people. So, first of all, we'll talk about what is the concept of citizenship. It is a concept or it refers to the legal and political status of an individual within a state, okay, that grant them their certain rights and duties. আমি যেତେବେଳେ কহু I am a citizen of India, that means India, I am staying within the state within India, okay, and then India has granted me certain rights and duties. I have some rights and duties, okay. um, what are those rights? Participation in the political process, है ना? Then protection under the law and the responsibility to obey the state's laws and regulations. Being a citizen of India, I have to follow and I have to obey the India's laws and regulations. Okay, so over time, the concept of citizenship has evolved significantly, shaped by political, social, and economic changes throughout history. So let's now talk about the historical perspective. So first is we are talking about यार origin केमती ହେଇଥିଲା. Okay, so uh, ancient civilization रे Roman and Greece. Uh, the concept of citizenship in the Western tradition, it can be traced back to the ancient Greece and especially the Athens. And so in Athens, citizenship it was reserved for adult males who were born to Athenian parents, excluding women, slaves, and foreigners. Okay, so these citizens had the right to participate in political decisions, including voting in assembly and serving in the public office. Okay, it Greek citizenship. Okay, Roman citizenship সেটা কেমন ଥିଲା? It has expanded the idea of citizenship that initially reserved for the inhabitants of the city of Rome. Gradually, it extended to the people in conquered territories. So, Roman law and concepts of civil law laid the groundwork for modern legal understandings of citizenship. এটা Roman period রে ଥିଲା, ancient period কথা কହୁଥିଲେ, then ଆସିଲା medieval period. Medieval period ରେ କ'ଣ ହେଇଥିଲା? The decline of civic participation, ଯୋଉଠି କି feudalism and church ତାଙ୍କ ମାନଙ୍କର role ଥିଲା, and um, then the church, particularly the Roman Catholic Church, how they played central role in defining individual rights, and the notion of citizenship, which was subsumed under the religious authority of the church. Okay. So then asila kona na amaro early modern period, joti ki there was the rise of nation states and nation states and the idea of national citizenship. So এটি আমি দেখ পারিবা the age of exploration and the rise of states, जोटी कि we are talking about the territorial nature of citizenship. So the monarchs, they began to consolidate power over defined territories, and the citizenship became more closely tied to the state rather than to local lots and or the cities. Okay, then comes the 17th 18th century katha, the enlightenment period or the social contract theory. जो time is social contract theory, basically the thinkers like John Locke, Rousseau, and कौन किए से ଥିଲେ जीन बॉर्डिन, पोडिन और पैडिन जो ଥିଲେ, कौन ତା नाम ମୋର exactly ମନେ ପଡୁନି, and Montesquieu, they argued that individuals had national rights. Sorry, uh, uh, I'm talking about in Enlightenment period, the social contract theory, jota ki, it brought new philosophical ideas about the nature of rights and citizenship. So basically, the focus is on the natural rights, like the right to participate in the political community. And Rousseau का जो concept थिला social contract, that proposed that individuals consent uh, uh, to form a collective political body or the state where they gain rights such as voting and take on duties such as obeying laws in exchange for protection and security. Okay, so then comes the modern era, where we can see the expansion of citizenship rights. जोटा कि 18th century रे America and French revolutions time रे the US Constitution and the French Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen emphasize the idea of universal rights. Okay, then 19th century re kon hela, there was expansion of voting rights, to universal suffrage asila, then citizenship and nationalism. In the 19th century re, citizenship became increasingly tied to national identity. Okay, so the idea of being a citizen of a nation state rather than just a subject of a monarch or lord, it gained prominence. So national identity became a core component of modern citizenship. Then comes the 20th century, where we see the citizenship as a universal right and globalization. So there we talk about women's suffrage, then post-colonial citizenship or citizenship by birthright, and we are also talking about the civil rights movement and social justice. And lastly, in the 21st century, here we are, the global citizenship and the challenges of migration. Okay, the issues like immigration, dual citizenship, and the rights of stateless individuals, these have come to the forefront. So the idea of global citizenship that stresses a commitment to universal human rights and global cooperation, that has gained prominence, especially through the organizations mm, like the United Nations. Okay, so there comes migration and transnationalism. These are the challenges. Okay, so this was about the historical perspective of the concept citizenship. Okay, let's now talk about the concept, definition of the concept. It's in page number 43. Please open 43. Um, since antiquity, citizenship has been defined as the legal status of membership in a political community. So in general, it entitled to citizens entitled the citizenship to whatever prerogatives and responsibilities that were attached to membership. So here we talk about T.H. Marshall. It's in second last paragraph. T.H. Marshall in Citizenship and Social Class. Okay, so his analysis of the development of class conflict in modern states, which is a combination of Marxian and Weberian insights. We will talk about him in detail. Um, just first, T.H. Marshall से कहते कि citizenship is a status which is enjoyed by a person who is a full member of a community. Okay. T.H. Marshall. So, culturally, key citizenship, it is defined as a status which is enjoyed by a person who is a full member of a community. So, he is talking about the three components of citizenship. First is civil, then political, and social. So, civil rights are necessary for individual freedom and are institutionalized in the law courts. And political citizenship, it guarantees the right to participate in the exercise of political power in the community, either by voting or by holding political office. Then the last one, that is social citizenship, it is the right to participate in an appropriate standard of living. This right is embodied in the welfare and educational systems of the modern societies. Okay, so uh, there was a permanent tension or contradiction between the principles of citizenship and the operation of the capitalist market. Okay, so let's now talk about then comes his Salkut Parsons, who says the growth of citizenship is a measure of the modern uh, modernization of society. So it is because it is based on the values of universalism and achievement. These different theoretical traditions, these are primarily the product of there are two opposite views of citizenship. जो कि first is uh, It is either viewed as an aspect of bourgeois liberalism, in which case it involves a conservative view of social participation. And the second is it is treated as a feature of radical democratic politics. So it is either dismissed as a mere reform of capitalism. Okay, so then we talk about what is the meaning of uh, global citizenship. It's in page number 44. So, what is global citizenship? Global citizenship means the idea that individuals identify as just a sec. I'll take 1 minute. Sorry. अरे पिल्ले तम्मा ने चेंज हो ना सोई पड़ जा
अच्छा मैम।
okay 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 so global citizenship. Okay, so global citizenship, it refers to the idea that individuals uh, identify as part of a broader global community, okay, which is beyond their national and local identities. So it is the recognition that as members of the world, people share common responsibilities and rights. So it's not just within their um, own countries but across the borders. So global citizenship, it emphasizes a commitment to human rights, um, then environmental sustainability and social justice and cooperation among diverse cultures and nations. Okay, so what are the key principles of global citizenship? So the first is uh, universal human rights. Okay, mm, so universal human rights, where global citizens they believe in the equal rights and dignity of uh, all human beings, regardless of nationality, ethnicity, gender, or religion. Okay, so this principle is grounded in international agreements such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights by the UN, United Nations. Okay, so the next is interconnectedness. Uh, interconnectedness. Please excuse me. Interconnectedness, that is global citizenship, which acknowledges that people across the world are interconnected through economic, environmental, and social systems. So, what are the issues? The issues, these are like climate change, poverty, and conflicts that do not respect national boundaries and their solutions. Often, it requires the collective action. So, global citizens understand that. Local actions can have global impacts and vice versa. Okay, so there is also social responsibility, environmental sustainability, peace and conflict resolution, cultural awareness, and respect. Okay, so the next concept is dual citizenship. Okay, dual citizenship, it's in page number 45, the second last paragraph. It is contrary to the process of assimilation of the migrant community into the host society. What does it mean? The dual citizenship, also known as the dual nationality. Okay, it occurs when an individual is a legal citizen of two or more countries simultaneously at a time. ଦୁଇଟା countryର ଯଦି citizenship ନେଇଥିବ. When an individual is a legal citizen of two or more countries simultaneously. So this means that the person, he has the rights, privilege, and the obligations of citizenship in both the countries, including the ability to live, work, or uh, vote in both the countries. What are the while looking at the dual citizenship, now what would be the characteristics? So first is um, rights and privileges. When we talk about rights and privileges, basically the dual citizens, they have um, the legal rights and responsibilities of both the countries, including the access to healthcare, education, and social services in both the countries. So mm, they may have the ability to vote in elections, uh, run for office, and access government services or protections in both the nations. Okay, so in some cases, dual citizens may have the right to own property, conduct business, or inherit property in both the countries. Okay, so dual citizenship is also likely to cause um, hard fun among the local residents who might feel that no need to consider. Just understand what is the meaning of the dual citizenship. So then comes the next concept, state and the citizen, that you are very much aware. No need to read it out. It's the state is an important political organization that exists within the society, and all the organizations pursue their goals in different ways. And citizen, as you already know, then then comes the next. This is in page number 47. This is nation state and the citizenship. Okay, nation state and the citizenship. So here will be talking about the autonomy and the self-governing rights that are major agenda of the new social movements across the world. So this is basically the result of which is compounding the ethnic conflicts in different parts of the world. So this is being given here in this uh, the nation state, which is Eurocentric construct. So, and in many situations and conditions, the state has been conflicted with nation in their conceptualization. So, there are a lot more things that you need to read. And also, what is the main basis of state formation? It is the language or the territory. So there are strong tendencies to conflate the state to nation and the state building as the nation building. So this has given rise to multiple and compounded problem of programs and policies of the state towards the ethnic groups. Okay, so then comes the rights and duties of the citizenship. So here we talk about Harold J. Lasky. Mainly, he asserts that every state is known by the rights that it maintains. Okay, every state is known by the rights that it maintains. ନିଜର state ର ଯୋଉ ଅଧିକାର ଗୁଡ଼ା ଅଛି ସେଇ through ରୁ ଜଣାଯାଏ କି ଗୋଟେ state କୁ ଯଦି ଆମେ ଜାଣିବା. So the state is not merely a sovereign organization which is entitled to the citizens' allegiance and which has the power to get its will obeyed. Okay, so here he also talks about the citizen has his obligations to the very state, and the rights are closely related to the duties. These rights implies the duties that rights and duties, they both are the two aspects of the same coin. So it represent the rights represent a man's claim on the society, while we talk about the duties that indicate that what he owes to the society, so as to be able to enjoy his rights. ନିଜର rights କୁ enjoy କରିବାକୁ ହେଲେ ତାଙ୍କୁ କଣ କରିବାକୁ ହୁଏ for the society. So therefore, while society guarantees security and well-being to the citizen owes to society the duty to make his contribution to the security and well-being of the community as a whole. Okay, so this was the concept. Let's now talk about civil society. Civil society next unit in ଆସିବ ସେଟା ମୁଁ just ଖାଲି over କହିଦଉଛି. So it's a term civil society which is given by um, କିଏ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି ଏଇଟା ଲକ୍ ଆଣ୍ଡ ରୁସୋ Basically ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି it's civil government as differentiated from natural society or the state of nature. So ତାକୁ different perspective ଦେଖୁଛନ୍ତି. For Hegel it is only through the state that the universal interest can prevail, since he disagrees with John Locke or Rousseau or Adam Smith that there is any innate rationality in civil society which will lead to the general good. So also Karl Marx, he uses the concept of civil society in his critique of Hegel. Marx ଯିଏକି ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି civil society, he has used civil society in his writings as a yardstick of the change from feudal to bourgeois society. ସେ historical materialism କେମିତି society ଗୋଟେ society ରୁ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ society କୁ transform ହଉଛି. Okay, so civil society arose from the destruction of the medieval society. Okay, so this and then comes Gramsci, Antonio Gramsci. So he uses the term to refer to the private or non-state sphere. Okay, Gramsci insists on its complex organization. So just leave it. This concept of civil society, because in the next unit we are going to talk about it. Then comes multiculturalism and the citizenship. Here multiculturalism, we are basically talking about the problem of multicultural accommodation, which is high on the global political agenda. So what is accommodation? It's a wide range of state measures designed to facilitate identity groups, practices and norms. So this identity groups, it refers to a range of cultural, religious or ethnic groups that are recognizable by virtue of their numbers. So, and members, while talking about the membership, it's an identity group combined with active participation in its cultural expressions, which is distinct from the mere blood ties. Okay, so and the last section and the conclusion here, there is a definition. It's I find it important, so I have mentioned it. It's written. Uh, the citizenship means active participation of the people in decision making and the process of government. These are the definitions you need to remember. So citizenship, it is the relationship between individuals and the state. It confers certain legal and political rights, and it is the duty of the state to enforce and protect these rights. Okay, and it is active participation of the people in the decision making process and the process of governance. So this was about um, the unit 20. Okay, let's now talk about unit 21. So this is civil society and democracy. So here we will be talking about the concept of civil society and democracy. Then what is the relationship between them, and what are the functions of civil society in democratic order? So let's now talk about. So just a sec. The term civil society, when we talk about this concept, which is we can trace the works of Cicero and other Romans to the ancient Greek philosophers. Um, it was largely equated with the state. The modern idea of civil society, which was found in the Scottish and the continental enlightenment of the 18th century. So there comes Hegel's 19th century notion of civil society that includes the market in ଏଇଟା ସବୁ ତମମାନଙ୍କୁ ମନେ ରଖିବାକୁ ପଡିବ କି କୋଉ ଟାଇମ ରେ ଆକୁ କିଏ କୋଉ କନସେପ୍ଟ ହିସାବରେ ନେଇଥିଲେ। ଓକେ, ଯେମିତି ସିସିରୋ, ସେ ଦେନ୍ ହେଗେଲ କଣ କହିଲେ, କାଲମାର୍କ୍ସ କଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି, ଏଇଟା ମନେ ରଖିବାକୁ ପଡିବ। ଇଟ୍ସ ଇନ୍ ଦ ବୁକ୍ ଓନଲି। ଓକେ, ଦେନ୍ the term, however, it lost its concurrence in the mid 19th century as political philosopher and sociologists turned their attention to the social and political consequences of the Industrial Revolution. So, the Marxist theorist Antonio Gramsci um, ସେ କ'ଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି କି civil society is a special nucleus of independent political activity, a crucial sphere of struggle against tyranny. Okay, and then a concept ଉପରେ ଆଉ କିଏ କହୁଛନ୍ତି understanding, sorry, David held, he tried to give shape to the concept of civil society through a sociological definition. What is it? That civil society retains a distinctive character to the extent that it is made up of areas of social life. Please do remember the definitions that you have to mug up. If you don't like you can't recall your the definitions like each and every word from the inverted commas, you need to remember the key words of that particular definition. Prati definition ro jodi bhitoru kichi bi bhuli jaucha, then just definition na mane rakho ei thinker eya କହିଛନ୍ତି, ei guda key concept, ସେ କି କନସେପ୍ଟ ଗୁଡା ମନେ ରଖିଦିଅ, ଦେନ୍ ତୁମକୁ ଡିଫାଇନ୍ କରିବାକୁ ଇଜି ହେଇଯିବ ସବୁ। ଓକେ, କାଲି ତ କହିଥିଲି କି inverted comma ভিতরে जो জিনিসটা আছে we can't change it. Okay, inverted comma ভিতরে যাহা আছে তা অর্থ each and everything whatever you are writing is being said by that particular sociologist. Okay, যদি লিখুছ the concept is defined by or characterized by these things, that means you have analyzed that definition. Okay. Okay, so let's now talk about first. So this is the concept. There is the concept of civil society and democracy. Please do read, and let's now talk about what is the relationship between two concepts, that is civil society and democracy. So it emphasized here. It is emphasized that in certain conditions, civil society can contribute to the democratization of authoritarian regimes, and it can help to sustain a democratic system of governance once it is established. So, for example, in the Eastern European countries, South Africa, Serbia, Philippines, and recently in Georgia, citizens have used civil society organizations. See, what is civil society organizations? Civil society organization means we are basically talking about um, the non-profit organizations, the NGOs, etc., etc. Okay, so they have used civil society organizations to wage struggle for political independence by learning about democracy and by mobilizing millions of their fellow citizens against repressive regimes. So, in a democratic setup, what civil society organizations provide is the basis for citizens to pursue common interests in political, social, or political domain. So here they participate freely, collectively, and peacefully. So let me tell you one thing. So by their involvement in civil society, citizens learn about the fundamental democratic values of participation and collective action, and they further disseminate these values within their community. Okay, a civil society, uh, what? They are the third sector. Okay, uh, the first is the state, and the second is the economy, and the third sector is the civil society. Civil society basically what it does is it acts as the mediator between the state and the market. Okay, state ଆଉ market ଭିତରେ it is the civil society ଯେ କି as a mediator କାମ କରେ। ଓକେ, ସୋ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ସିଭିଲ ସୋସାଇଟି ସିଏ କ'ଣ କରେ କି ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର it acts as a mediator between the citizens and the state. Okay, ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କର କନସର୍ନ ନେଇ state କୁ ଜଣେଇବ, and state ର new rules and regulations ଯାହା ବି କିଛି ହଉଛି ସେ ବିଷୟରେ ଆଣି ଲୋକମାନଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ପହଞ୍ଚେଇବ। ଓକେ, and then ଯୋଉ କୁହନ୍ତି as a mediator ଭଳିଆ କାମ କରନ୍ତି ସେଇଟା ହଉଛି ସିଟିଜେନ ସିଭିଲ ସୋସାଇଟି। ଓକେ, ସେମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ନନ୍ ପ୍ରଫିଟ୍ ଅର୍ଗାନାଇଜେସନ ହିସାବରେ କାମ କରନ୍ତି, and ତାଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଲୋକମାନେ କ'ଣ ଜାଣନ୍ତି କି what are the democratic values of participation, କେମିତି collectively ସେମାନେ ଲୋକଙ୍କୁ organize କରନ୍ତି and information ଆଣି ପହଞ୍ଚାନ୍ତି. So civil society movements that represent citizen interests can considerably influence both government policy and social attitude. It is the civil society ଯିଏକି represent କରନ୍ତି citizen ମାନଙ୍କର interest को government ଆଗରେ represent କରନ୍ତି କି civil society. Okay. The independent activities of the civil society, it can pose a counterweight to state power. There are three central aspects of democracy aid. जोटा कि से discuss କରିଛନ୍ତି, that is the first one is the electoral assistance, then institutional reform, then civil society assistance. Okay. Mm. Then there are uh, then comes the functions of civil society in a democratic order. So here Larry Diamond, JK, he talks about the different functions of the civil society. So first is to limit state power. ତା ଅର୍ଥ କ'ଣ? कि गोटे civil society जोटा कि probably more essential for consolidating and maintaining uh, democracy than initiating it. And then he talks about to empower citizens by increasing the political efficacy and skill of the democratic citizen and promoting an appreciation of the obligations as well as rights of democratic citizenship. এটা बहुत important ଅଛି. Suppose question ଆସିବ, write a brief note on the functions of civil society with specific or with a reference to Larry Diamond. Okay, there you need to mention this all 9 functions of the civil society. Okay, now hele define functions and of civil society and what are the different perspectives of looking at uh, looking at it. Okay, so there you need to write because functions কথা କହିଛି and perspective କଥା ପଚାରିଛି ତା ଅର୍ଥ ତମେ ଏଟା mention କରିବ କି because as such book ରେ ଏଟା ଅଛି ଲାରି ଡାଇମଣ୍ଡଙ୍କର ତ you need to remember these 9 there are sorry 9 no there are 10 functions of civil society. Okay, so the third is to inculcate and promote an arena for the development of a democratic attributes amongst the citizens. ये जो tolerance, moderation, a willingness to compromise and respect for opposing viewpoints. So एटी से कौन कौचंती कि it is an important function as it allows traditionally excluded groups such as women and racial or ethnic minorities the access to power that has been denied them in the upper echelons of formal politics. Then next he's talking about to provide avenues for political parties and other organizations that allows them to articulate, aggregate, and represent their interests. These are other functions. There are also other functions like to function as a recruiting, informational, and leadership generating agency. Uh, then then comes a well-founded civil society that could act as a shock observing institution that you need to um, remember. Then mm, uh, uh, just a sec. So here one of the here one point that I found it is very important. This is election monitoring. Okay, it's the 9 number. Election monitoring. So many non-partisan organizations engage in election um, monitoring at home and abroad. Such efforts, uh, uh, who says Larry Diamond, such efforts have been critical in detecting fraud, enhancing voter confidence, affirming the legitimacy of the result, and demonstrating an opposition victory despite government fraud. So ସେଇଠି ସେ କିଛିଟା ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ୍ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି। ଇଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଭେରି ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଦ ଲାଷ୍ଟ ସେକ୍ସନରେ ଏଠି ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରେ ଅଛି ଏଠି ରବର୍ଟ ଧଲ୍ ରବର୍ଟ ଧଲ୍ଙ୍କର what are the functions of civil society, ସେଇଟା ବି very important. This is very easy, also easy to remember. Okay, so I just a sec. So these are the freedom of association and expression, uh, then the right to vote, run for public office, free and fair elections, then the right of political leaders to compete for support and votes, then alternative sources of information, policy making institutions dependent on votes, and then other expressions of preference. So these completely you need to study. Okay, so then comes I'll focus on this section, civil society as a promoter of democracy. So basically civil society, they are the third sector. Okay, the NGOs or the non-governmental organizations, or we can say the advocacy groups, labor unions, professional associations, social movements, then we can say grassroots organizations. Yes, grassroots organizations. So these civil society, they plays a crucial role in promoting and strengthening democracy by focusing or they foster participation, they hold the government accountable, and uh, they protect human rights and advances social justice. Okay, so in promoting democracy, what they do? Okay, so democracy को promote करिया पाए से कौन कराते? First, they encourage political participation. Okay, what is political participation? They provide basically the citizens with the means to become active participants in a democratic process. So it helps individuals engage in public life and promote political awareness, education, engagement. And so then political activism through civil society, which will allow the marginalized and the underprivileged groups to voice their concerns. Okay, so then civil society aug kare, it enhances or এটা କଣ ଅଛି ହଁ ହଁ yeah, transparency. Okay, transparency of governance, it enhances accountability and governance. Okay, so civil society basically it acts as a watchdog. Okay, watchdog over the government and the other powerful institutions. Okay, through mechanisms such as investigative journalism, advocacy, public demonstrations. Civil society, they hold the government accountable for its actions and decisions. It is the government which is accountable in front of the civil society. Okay, so NGOs and other civil society groups, they often monitor the elections, raise awareness of corruption, and the campaign for transparency in government. Okay, then civil society often it protects the human rights, um, promotes justice. Okay, for example, the organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, they focus on highlighting and campaigning against human rights abuse globally. Okay, so then civil society also, what it does, it promotes social movements. Okay, like say for example the movements for civil rights, gender equality, environmental justice, and democracy promotion, this can shift public opinion and pressure governments to enact reforms. So what these movements do, they often serve as the catalyst for social change. Okay, how? Because through advocating for inclusive policies and broadening the scope of democratic participation. Okay, and then civil society, it facilitates civic education and democratic norms, Then it fosters pluralism and inclusion, um, inclusion of whom? Inclusion of the marginalized groups, such as the racial minorities, refugees, etc., in the political process. Okay, to ensure that democracy is representative and inclusive, and then civil society it also builds social capital and trust. Okay, social capital and trust. So it's ए सिविल सोसाइटी रो जो रोल भी अच्छी जोटा कि डिफरेंट डिफरेंट डेमोक्रेटिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट रे अच्छी जेमती इन एस्टाब्लिश डेमोक्रेसी सेठी गोटे प्रकार देन इन ट्रांजिशनल डेमोक्रेसी आई विल गिव यू वन एग्जांपल ऑफ एस्टाब्लिश डेमोक्रेसी दैट इज the grassroots movements which advocate for affordable healthcare is equal access to education and the rights of marginalized groups such as immigrants and racial minorities. Okay, जदि हमें transitional democracy କଥା କହିବା ସେଠି ଆମେ ଦେଖିବା कि civil society କେମିତି help କରୁଛି to prevent the resurgence of authoritarianism by promoting development of democratic norms, transparency, and the protection of human rights. So, uh, I'll give you one example of civil society that promotes democracy. Say for example the fall of authoritarian regimes. Okay, so this is one of the example. This is shows for example the solidarity movement in Poland in 80s 1980s that led by the trade unions and the civil society groups that contributed to the peaceful overthrow of the communist rule and the establishment of democracy in Poland. Okay, so this is the democratic, civil society as a uh, promoter of democracy. So then, if I have left something, so let's now talk about the last section. It is the democratic dangers of civil society. Okay, what is it? So basically, it means when we talk about civil society as a promoter of democracy, um, by fostering political participation, holding governments accountable, etc., etc. So it is also important to acknowledge that civil society is not without its risks. Sometimes এটা ଆମ ପାଇଁ ଟିକେ dangerous ବି uh, prove ହେଇପାରେ. Let's say in which way? What are the democratic dangers? Democratic dangers, civil society, it can pose democratic dangers by undermining uh, the democratic principles, exacerbating polarization or becoming a tool for authoritarian agendas. Okay, so here we talk about the first is it's in page number 59. Okay, I'll just make it in brief and talk about first is exacerbating divisions or fragmentation and polarization. So here it is a significant risk of civil society is the potential for polarization. So here it often represents the diverse groups, including the political parties, interest groups, and the social movements. Okay, so the next is it also in some cases civil society organizations it may become co-opted by political elites, business and other powerful interests. So when this happens the organization may cease to act in the public's interest and instead uh, serve the goals of a specific political party. Okay, then and civil society it also directly challenge and challenge the legitimacy of democratically elected governments, particularly when its activism turns to anti-government rhetoric or disruption. So, in extreme cases, this can destabilize democratic institutions and it lead to political instability. Okay, so then civil society also its exploitation, authoritarian, somewhere it's mentioned ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କହୁଛେ କି authoritarian government they may exploit the concept of civil society to create the illusion of public participation while consolidating power. What does it mean? So these regimes may foster state sponsored or controlled civil society organizations that appear to be independent but are actually royal to the regime. Then instrumentalizing civil society, that means the authoritarian leaders they may use civil society to cultivate support or for their regime and claiming that any opposition to the government is the work of foreign agents. So here we talk about the foreign agents or terrorist organizations, and then civil society weakens the rule of law. That means uh, in certain situations, these civil society groups they may pursue their objectives in ways that bypass or undermine the rule of law. So when these organizations they act as act outside the framework of legal norms and democratic principles, they can undermine the very structures that sustain democracy. Okay, so they disregard for legal frameworks. Some civil society groups, particularly those advocating the social change or revolutionary ideas that may justify illegal activities such as civil disobedience or direct action. Then also, then next is it challenges democratic institutions, say such as parliaments, judiciaries, and election commissions. Um, then also, the civil society it promotes liberal or populist agendas. That means that undermine democratic norms such as the protection of individual rights, minority protections, and the rule of law. So, at last, uh, uh, when we talk about the role of civil society in democracy, we need to balance it. While civil society plays an essential role in strengthening democracy by providing the space. Or advocating for human rights. So it also poses certain democratic dangers. But to mitigate these dangers, it is necessary or crucial that civil society organizations they remain independent and accountable and transparent uh, to avoid the undue influence from external actors. Okay, they need to be remain independent at semane accountable have and transparent have. So furthermore, the governments must create a conducive environment where civil society can thrive without being co-opted and where the diverse voice can contribute to the public discourse without threatening democratic stability. Okay, so a healthy democracy it will require a balance where civil society acts as both a promoter and a safeguard of democratic ideas. So that's all about this unit. This is unit 21, which is already over. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me. I hope it's clear. And this is very easy. What say? Is it easy? Please say something.
Yes, ma'am.
बहुत इजी अच्छे तुम मैंने प्लीज एटा पढ़िबो still if you have any doubt I am there and today it is the last class of ours because तुम्हारे notice मिली
Yes, ma'am. Mail ଆସିଥିଲା।
Yes, ma'am. Medicine.
हाँ हाँ मैं लास्ट रे अच्छी से जहाँ नेक्स्ट ब्लॉक गुड़ा रहिला मु देदेवी बट ए वैकेशन वन स्टार्ट हेले तुमन को एग्जाम केबे
ଜୁନରେ ବୋଧେ।
जून रे ଆଚ୍ଛା।
June first.
ବିଫୋର ଜୁନ୍ ମୁଁ ତମକୁ ଆର ସବୁର ଟିକେ କମ୍ପାଇଲ୍ ନୋଟ୍ସ ଦେଇଦେବି। ବାକି ଏବେ ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଆମର ବି ସେମିଷ୍ଟର ଚାଲିଛି ବୋଲି ସେଥିପାଇଁ ମୁଁ ଟାଇମ୍ ହିଁ ପାଉନି ଏଇଟା କରିବା ପାଇଁ ପ୍ରିପେୟାର କରିବା ପାଇଁ। ଓକେ, ଯୋଉଟା ରହିବ ସେଇଟା ଦେଖିବା ପରେ।
Okay.
ବାକି ପାଞ୍ଚଟା ସେକ୍ସନର ମୁଁ ତମକୁ ନୋଟ୍ସ ଦେଇଦେବି। ଓକେ, ଆଉ ଯାହା ଡାଉଟ୍ ଅଛି ୟୁ କ୍ୟାନ୍ ଆସ୍କ ମି ରିଗାର୍ଡିଂ ଏନିଥିଙ୍ଗ। ହଁ, କଣ ହେଲା? କିଏ କହୁଛ? ଦେବୀ ପ୍ରସାଦ ନା କିଏ?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Is the recording going on?
Yes, ma'am. ଚାଲିଛି।
Yes, ma'am. Still continue.
ଓକେ, ସେ ବନ୍ଦ ନହେଲେ ସେପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଯାଇହବନି।
ତମେ ଆନ୍ସର ଲେଖିଲା ବେଳେ ପଏଣ୍ଟରେ ଲେଖିବୁ ନା ପାରାଗ୍ରାଫରେ ଲେଖିବୁ?
ଆଚ୍ଛା, ତୁମେ ଗୋଟେ କାମ କର, ତାକୁ ପଏଣ୍ଟରେ ଟିକେ ହାଇଲାଇଟ୍ କରିବ। ହାଇଲାଇଟ୍ କଲେ ବେଶୀ, ହାଇଲାଇଟ୍ ମାନେ କ'ଣ, ପଏଣ୍ଟ କର, ଦେନ୍ ପଏଣ୍ଟର ଏକ୍ସପ୍ଲାନେସନ୍ ଟିକେ ଛାଡ଼ିକି, ସେ ଯେଉଁ ମାର୍ଜିନ୍ ଛାଡ଼ିକି, ସପୋଜ 1 ଟୁ ମିଟିଗେଟ୍ ଦିସ୍ ଡେଞ୍ଜର୍ସ, ତା ତଳେ ଯୋଉଟା ଲେଖିବ ସେଟା ଟିକେ ସ୍ପେସ୍ ଛାଡ଼ିକି, ତ ସେଇଟା ଟିକେ କ୍ୟାଚି ହୁଏ। ଯୋଉଟା କି ମୁଁ ବି ମୋ ଷ୍ଟୁଡେଣ୍ଟ ମାନଙ୍କୁ କୁହେ କି ୟୁଜୁଆଲି ପଏଣ୍ଟ ମେନସନ୍ କଲେ କ'ଣ, ବହୁତ ଟାଇମ୍ ଏମିତି ସିଚୁଏସନ୍ ଥାଏ, ଟିଚର୍ସ ଜଷ୍ଟ ପଏଣ୍ଟ ଦେଖିକି ଜାଣିବେ ହଁ ଏ ପିଲାଟା ଲେଖିଥିବ, है ना। तो पॉइंट्स मेंशन करो, हाईलाइट करो ताको टिके सेटा बेस्ट रादर देन राइटिंग इन पैराग्राफ्स लाइक ऐसे टाइप ऑफ समटाइम्स देखिए भी टिके भल लागे ने, है ना। तो पॉइंट्स देले बेसी बेटर, व्हाट आई फील, है ना। बाकी आंसर राइटिंग पैटर्न में तो आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू कि क्वेश्चन रही तुम कीवर्ड्स फर्स्ट एक्सप्लेन करिवो, देन ताको कंबाइन करिवो कि कोन पाई, हैला।
Thank you.
ହଁ ma'am।
Ma'am, answers only black and blue pen, ma'am.
Only black and blue. No, don't ever use that green or red one. Okay, सेटा marking सेमती कटि जाए.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Most welcome. So wish you all the best. Keep reading, and whenever you find any doubt, you can ask me in the group. Okay, I'm there to help you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Okay,
most
thank you,
welcome.
ma'am.
I'll see you in May 14th. Okay, let's wait for 1 more minute since they finish. You can leave.